It's amazing when you think that 2021 was the year that more blacks invested in the stock market than ever, that something like that could happen when you think of where we came from. As we celebrate Black History Month, I'd like to reflect for a few minutes on the financial history of blacks, which really started when Lincoln freed the slaves with something called the Freedmen's Bank. And while people think slavery was the biggest tragedy that happened to blacks, it was actually what happened after slavery. Those freed slaves became doctors, they became lawyers, they became teachers, they became business people, and within 10 years after being freed, they had earned $60 million and deposited in the Freedmen's Bank. And then the US government decided that they wanted that money and they took those deposits from blacks. Big hit on their economy. Some people say that would be worth $7 trillion in the black economy today. You also had events like the Great Migration, where a lot of blacks, fearing for their lives, 3.5 million blacks, left the South, leaving their land, leaving their property, leaving all the wealth they had amassed to move north to try to get a better life. But again, they left all their property and all their possessions. We've all heard stories about the Tulsa race riots. All of these events, predatory lending, have just come again and again and again and taken away from our community. But here we are talking about how blacks are the fastest growing group of new stock market investors. So what do y'all think of that?
Well, listen, I'm happy we had Terry Agioma here because for myself, I got into investing way later than I wish I would have. But I'm still on the track of learning and growing. And while I've been doing my long-term investing, I haven't been focused on trading, and that's why I'm glad we have Terry here.
Yeah, and I think so long we've had to settle for what we can afford. Mm-hmm. And many of us haven't been able to actually have the lives we really want to have because we always go for the cheapest thing.
Right.
Like we were talking about the other day.
I love a sale.
Right? It's got to be on the coupon rack or the clearance rack or we don't get it. And I think that's because of where we came from. We've always not had enough, or we've always had to just make it do. Like we started eating pig feet because we didn't have anything else to eat, right?
And we got the leftovers.
But we made it work. And so now I think investing will help us to actually be able to go over the hump and be able to start living the lives we really want with more freedom.
But what do you think are some of the biggest fears that we have when it comes to investing?
I think a lot of it is it's new. For a lot of people investing now, they're the first people in their family who've done it. So they're very nervous about risking that money.
Yeah.
Those events that I talked about at the beginning, each one of those leaves a little psychological baggage, a little bit of emotional baggage. So you have a lot of fear and a lot of distrust of the financial markets.
Ton of fear. People afraid of, I don't know what to do. Am I going to lose everything? Mm-hmm. Is it a gamble? I don't have enough money. All of those things.
That's a big one, the whole mentality.
And we don't even know who to ask.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That whole mentality, investing's for the rich. Investing's for the rich.
Yeah, that's that rich people thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, why is it particularly important for black women to invest in stocks?
Well, look what the world's done to us. I mean, black women, we're at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to earning money. We get, paid much less. We have higher levels of student loan debt. We only saw very sad statistics the other day that twice as many white women have retirement accounts as black women. Yep. So I think it's all of the things we talked about, but times 100, because
right.
a lot of times we are, most of us are the primary breadwinners.
Yeah, but then also we're the ones that have the most ingenuity right now. I feel like we're starting the most businesses. We're actually like creating all these companies. So I feel like we need to know how to make our money grow so that we can afford the things that we want to do, like these businesses that black women are starting.
And what you've created, and you said you were nervous about money and stuff when you were younger and stuff, but tell the black women out there why you think it's important for them to invest.
I mean, I think for myself, like I always, even to this day, still have a fear that I could something might not work out. That's why I like to be diverse. I think during the pandemic, we saw people who owned commercial real estate and owned buildings and were renting out. It felt like a safe thing before the pandemic, but then when people weren't paying their rent and, sometimes people were breaking their leases and things like that were happening, some people did take a hit. And so for myself, I like to have different things that I'm invested in. So if this doesn't work, at least I know I have this that will be working on this end. So it's really about being diverse for me, but it is still always a fear of mine. And I want to get over that something might not work out and I could lose everything that I worked so hard to earn.
And you know what? I'm worried about the woman who's thinking like you. I don't want to lose it, so I just put it in a savings account.
Right.
But now with inflation, that's getting less and less value.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually still losing because they just have it sitting in a savings.
They can't afford not to invest.
Right. So now you can still have your nest egg, but now let me show you how to make that grow so that you can afford things that you want, but also like if inflation comes, which right now they were saying like it's almost a 2%, 3%. If your bills get more expensive, if your rent goes up because of inflation, you actually will have a larger nest egg than what you just started with.
And I've learned that my money has to work for me too. As I'm earning more money, I don't like it to just sit in the bank, like you said, in a savings account and making $10 a month when you have all this money in there and you're like...
It's like $10 a year.
Yeah, so it's really crazy. And so now the way that I look at it is if I have too much money in the bank doing nothing, then that's a waste.
It is.
And when you think of the fact that, we're very excited that so many more people of color are getting into the markets, but our overall wealth, there's still this huge wealth gap between blacks and whites. And we have to invest our way out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things people have to start making that association. And when we do invest, as more and more people get into it, that's when we can affect real change. Like you saw when GameStop.
Yeah.
When a bunch of people, like not saying that was the right stock or anything
it was
to
not.
do,
Nope.
but you saw the impact.
No, that wasn't it.
You saw the impact it had. Like
Yeah.
it moved markets. So imagine if we get our education game up
All
about
of us
investing.
do things together,
and if we do
yeah.
things together, we can force companies to be more fair to our people. We can force them to do products. Money.
We can have more IPOs for
We can
ourselves.
have more
Home
IPOs for
businesses, right?
ourselves. And it's invest in black, buy black. That's all wonderful. And everybody should do that. But we can also affect companies that aren't just black and say, hey, we are not going to put our dollars in you, or we are going to put our dollars in you unless you have a diverse corporate culture, unless you change some of your rules. So we have real power here.
You know what I think is important? I want people to know that they can actually trade for income. Like they can trade to pay for things. Because for so long we've only been taught to buy and hold. But that takes a lot of control out of it, because if the market starts falling or whatever you're investing in starts falling, you just watch your account go down.
Right.
And like you might be rich on paper but broke in real life. So I feel like that's important too to teach women, especially black women.
You want that vacation?
Like this is how you trade to get there.
Yeah.
You want your kids to go to a good school. You want to pay for your adult parents to be in a nice home.
Maybe you
right?
want a Chanel bag.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Whatever your goal is.
I have a student, she's trading she wants $100 a month to get a massage every month.
Okay.
That's it.
And that's her goal.
And that's the goal. And she's doing it. Like, I get my monthly massage from my trading.
And talk about, black people are more likely to panic sell in a falling market.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that you can make money on the way down.
So one of the biggest myths is that you can only make money in the stock market on the way up. But a lot of money is made on the way down. It's called short selling. And it is something more advanced. It definitely takes a lot more education. That's why we're educating people now. But yes, you can make money on the way down. And you just sell high and then buy back low. And you can still make the same difference as if you bought low and sold high.
Well, Terry, I love that this is your ministry. And I know that we are doing our own 5-day challenge.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
On January 31st, we're going to challenge all of you out there to take your first trade. Go to takeyourfirsttrade.com. You're going to learn how to buy a stock. You're going to learn how to open an account. You're going to learn a little bit about the markets. And then you're going to learn how to sell a stock. It's only going to take a few minutes. Go to takeyourfirsttrade.com and sign up. And what's wonderful about that and being introduced to Terry and Terry's work is, like we were just talking about, you'd not only get a budget or a plan, you get a trading plan, you get a risk management plan, and you get a plan on what to do when when the market's going down, and how to make money off that. And I think those things are really important. So we challenge all of you to start participating so that we can build wealth for our community and for ourselves. Go to takeyourfirsttrade.com and sign up.
I'll be doing it with you.
Amen. And y'all, the whole market, the S&P 500 was up 26.9% last year. So if people are not invested, that's why it's important for you to join this challenge so that you can start getting invested and at least be a part of that.
You got to be in it to win it.
Take your first trade.com.